Here's why stress is absolutely necessary to success. At the dojo, we spend a lot of time feeling stress, studying stress, working our way through stress. And on the mat, we've learned some very interesting things about what stress is and what stress isn't. In a practical way, because that's what application is all about, at the dojo, we're trying to do things that actually show up and create effects that we want in the real world in a physical arena. Really, the way that we define stress is simply as pressure. Now, right away, we're taught that stress is bad, that too much stress isn't good. But then at the same time, we're also taught that if you're not stressed enough in your life, you're apparently not working very hard, or you're not accomplishing anything of real value or meaning. You're not getting anywhere, in other words. We use it as a badge of honor. Oh, I'm so stressed about this thing I'm doing at work. And in a way, we kind of applaud each other for that. When we break it down to the simple element of pressure and understanding what pressure is and the role that it plays in how we define stress, there's some new things that are really powerful, that are really valuable, that we can learn about how to utilize stress in a way that makes my earlier statement true, right? Why is stress necessary to success? If we think about stress as pressure, then pressure in some ways can also be the measure of how much literal weight or meaning we're putting into something. Think about it from that perspective for a second. If something's important to us, if it has a lot of meaning, in other words, we tend to treat it differently than something that doesn't have a lot of meaning or isn't as important. In other words, we feel a different level of pressure for responsibility about that thing that has more meaning in our lives. We care about it more. We put more effort and attention into it more. As opposed to those things which we don't have much regard for, they don't carry a lot of weight. We'll even say it that way sometimes. That doesn't have a lot of weight with me. The idea of stress being pressure gives us the sense that maybe stress is something neutral, not negative inherently or automatically, and also not positive either, i.e. in the way that we were defining it earlier about this idea that, well, if I don't have enough stress, that doesn't mean I'm doing anything useful in the world. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not trying. What if stress or pressure, the weight of something, is just a neutral state of being? What if it doesn't have any connotation other than what we decide to do with it? That's making us think about it in a slightly different way. And it does in the dojo all the time. If we think about stress as neutral, then what's the thing that determines its value or its detriment, that makes it positive or negative? Well, it's how we perceive it. Right? The ways that we think about that in technical terms, when we're talking about being on the mat, have to do with reacting to something or responding to something. What's the difference? When we react, what we're trying to do is escape the thing that is coming at us. Someone's trying to throw a technique or throw an attack. We're just trying to get out of its way. It rules the space. It takes over all of the action in whatever interaction that we're in a sense, in the dojo. When we talk about responding to something, we recognize that there's a possibility that we don't have to escape that thing that's coming at us in order to be able to handle it. We just have to create space around it. Why is that languaging important? What's the difference? When we react, there's only one possibility. There's only one choice to make. Either attack or retreat. So that attack or retreat only occurs in either one direction forward or one direction backwards. It negates all the other opportunities around it when we respond. When we respond to something, we create space around it, and the way we describe that and the way that we understand that is, I've got more choices than just fight it or run away. I can move in ways that allow me to get new perspectives on the next choice that I can make. Without the stress of that thing being present, we'd never get to practice and understand the difference and the very profound impact that recognizing a reaction from a response gives us in terms of value. So when we think of it from that vantage point, all of a sudden, stress becomes something useful. It's not something that we just have to constantly try to either deny that we're feeling or indulge that we're feeling. Because both that denial and that indulgence can create an overwhelm that leaves us blind to the other possibilities of the things that we can do in that environment. So when we look at stress as something that we can interact with, we can engage with, right? When we recognize that we have a role in how we perceive that stress, all of a sudden we can step into situations that bring challenge. And oftentimes we think about stress as coming from variables that we can't control. Well, we've all experienced that if we step out into life thinking that the only way we're going to be successful is if we can control all the possible variables that could happen to us, we're not going to get out of bed most days. There's just too many of them. There's too many variables in walking from your bedroom to the bathroom to brush your teeth to face the vast amount of chaos and variables that are out there potentially in the world waiting for you as you try to go out and do something new or do something of value or do something of new meaning and interest to you. So if we can recognize that we play a role in how we perceive stress, we can either react to it, right? Which means we've automatically decided that it's bad. We've automatically decided that it's something that we've got to deny and get away from. Or we have to overwhelm that thing that's causing stress for us because it's overwhelming us. That's the only action we can take in order to keep ourselves moving forward. If we recognize that we can also perceive stress in a responsive manner, which means we have a moment to take a breath, have a thought about the other possibilities that this stress could bring. Ideally, hey, maybe this stress has showed up in my life so that I can do something really powerful and positive with it. I can do something good with it. That's where the idea of stress as pressure can become really valuable. Yeah, we could feel the pressure of someone trying to grab us and pull us in a direction we don't want to go. We could also feel the pressure of someone giving us a hug. Right? That's a really simple, physicalized way to think about the difference between stress as a negative pressure and stress as a positive pressure. What's the difference? Our perception is what determines that that pressure or that stress is useful and wanted, or something that we want to escape from and is unwanted and unasked for. See how that affects your thinking about stress. Apply it. Try it out. Give yourself that chance to respond in the moment and say, oh, this is just pressure. Well, if I have pressure in the tire of my car, that's a good kind of pressure. That difference, remembering that there is a possibility that stress isn't inherently negative, can create all kinds of opportunity for you to create all kinds of new space around things that present variables to you that you didn't expect. Handling those variables is the key to breaking new territory in your life, in your behavior, and any new skill you want to build. And from that vantage point, maybe it's something actually kind of inviting. That's why we look at it from the standpoint of stress being necessary to success. It's not just something we tolerate, but it's something that's necessary for us to get better and for us to grow and to build skill. And that lesson from the mat is something that I carry with me on a daily basis and share with people on a regular basis, and something that we use to great avail inside the dojo and out. Thanks. Hope that helps. Hope it gives you some valuable things to think about, at least to process and kick around and try out. We'll see you again back in the dojo.